What's going on, everybody? We're here on another episode of the HOPECAST. I'm your host, Hope Dealer Fausto, where we spread hope to the hopeless. And today we got a very special guest. I'm honored for this moment because today you guys are going to figure out how to overcome homelessness, how to overcome addiction, how to have no education and then you have so much education, I can't even name the letters after his name. Rumor has it there's more letters after his name than his whole name put together. And this is one of the most humble people I have ever met. And you might have heard of him because he's been on Fox News and he's been on Dr. Drew and so many more platforms that I can't even remember because there's so many. And I just want to introduce one of my good friends, Anthony Brown.
Well, that's a whole lot of introduction you gave me there. Hey, thank you for allowing me to come. I still appreciate you.
I think I might have left one out. I forgot. He's an author too. From Park Bench to Park
Avenue. Hey, it's all in your head.
So one thing I really want to talk about too, just to start this off, is if you real quick, can you just give like a quick, maybe like 2-minute version, 3-minute version of where you came from and what you're doing now?
Let's see, the quick version of it, I came from an extremely abusive childhood, took off partying at 14, stopped at 37. Next thing you know, I got connected with a higher power and my life changed. And now I get to be a teacher, a nurse, soon to be nurse practitioner and a writer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
God, that's amazing. And one thing you said too, what you said is the higher power thing, right? I feel like sometimes I can like make people go like, ooh, I don't want to do the higher power thing. For you, what is a higher power to you and why was it so effective in your life?
Well, you know, what's really fascinating is if you look at it realistically, there's always something in control of our life. We're going to listen to something, whether it's a stop sign, whether it's a judge, you know, we're going to always learn from something, whether it's a book or another individual. And so for me, when I look at all those different entities, then why not let something that some cannot see, but a lot of people can think about, feel, and experience run my life, you know, and I experiment it. You know, I actually sat down and go, okay, you know what? If there's a God, prove it. You know, now be careful what you ask for.
Right? Be careful, guys.
Be careful. And I feel it. And something happened in my life that is able to transform me to who I was into who I am in such a rapid period of time.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like, I love how you said that, right? How you said, like, I wanted to try to see if I can prove, God, are you real? And you said, be careful what you ask for because you should be careful what you ask for because you will get it.
Exactly. I'm a scientific person. You know, when I was out drinking and using, I've always been scientific. I experimented with anything. It didn't matter what it did. But I did it. And so now I'm in school and I'm a science major and I believe in facts. I believe in experiments. You know, and so I went directly to God because I always hear, yeah, well, God's around. I see people in church and all that stuff. Okay, sure. I hear what you're saying. And so I just said, okay, well, you know what? I always was taught, if you want the best answer, go directly to the source. And so good. I sat at a park one day and said, you know what, God, check this out. You know, because, you know, I talk to God like he's just my best friend because he is my best friend.
That's
you know?
Right, yeah.
And that's the conversation we had, you know, and it's like, God, check this out. I know cars run on gas. I know that for a fact. And I know this bench is solid. I understand that. Now prove to me you exist. And Shazam.
What happened? I want to know. You said you can't just Shazam me. You got to tell us, Anthony.
Okay, let me preface it with this. Okay, for me, God enters our life in a unique way in which only we can understand. And what happened to me at that exact moment, the trees turned all pastel and, you know, all the little creatures from the park came out. I mean, there were squirrels and rabbits and everything surrounded my little table. And I'm like, wow, you know, and I wasn't loaded. And that's the
like, this is not the drugs.
Right, it's not the drug. This is like real. I mean, Houston, this is not a test, you know. And I felt this overwhelming calmness in me. And I still have that calm with me today. And then, you know, I was given my directions, you know. It's like, don't harm nobody, don't hate, and finish what you start. And I've been following that recipe ever since. And next thing you know, here I am writing books. Here I am teaching health science. Here I am walking a whole psych facility through the COVID epidemic. You know, so something happened.
That's cool. Who would have thought, right? I love that one thing you said. You're like, I always wanted to be a drug dealer. And now I guess basically still a drug dealer because I'm passing out medication.
Well, yeah. And it's really fascinating because where I come from, and that's part of my history, this is what I was taught. Human beings, we're learned creatures. Everything we do, we learn from somewhere. Everywhere, even if it's on how to walk, how to eat, how to dress, we learn that from somewhere. And so I learned how to be a drug dealer because that's what my environment shaped me to be. It's not like I come from a high socioeconomic background. I come from a poor neighborhood with no skills or anything like that. Single mom, et cetera, et cetera. The same old things that would dictate somebody's life isn't going to be that profitable. And so I was taught, okay, well, you hustle, get your money somehow. And I see other people wearing stuff, so I decided, you know what? I see how to get money, so I'm selling drugs. And I did that for a long time. Now, mind you, that is not a vocation you want, okay? Because there's a side effect of selling drugs. It's called prison. You know, yeah,
That's real.
yeah. And so I done all of that stuff, you know. And after a while, growing up, not having nothing, something had to change. And again, God is humorous. You know, it's okay. You want to be a drug dealer? I'll make you a nurse. Go to school. You know, and it's like, okay, now not only do I understand different chemical makeup, but how it's into your body, how it's metabolized, you know, all of that stuff, how it works on a cellular level. I know drugs now.
Yeah, man. You know more about drugs now that you're sober, huh?
A whole lot more. A whole lot more.
It's funny how life works out sometimes.
It is. It is.
And another thing I want to talk about too is like what made you want to bring light to the homeless community for you? Because I've seen like you got Brown Manor up in Ohio at a 9,000 square feet mansion.
Yeah, Brown Manor is I bought a 9,000 square foot 1916 abandoned mansion, and I'm going to give it to the homeless people. And the reason why, I was homeless 23 years. You know, I always tell people I went to a party at 23, I came home at 37. And so I was homeless since the age of 14. And I know what it's like to be out there. I know what it's like to think that it's normal not having hope and not looking for anything but accepting what you get. And I know what it's like to have that struggle. And so when I see people in that situation, it hits a certain spot in me. I mean, it hits it really deep. And in order for me to make a difference, I have to be the difference. And that's why my story's out, you know, in public. And so my whole thing is I want to bring light to people in the homeless community so that we don't forget these are somebody's mother, brothers, sisters, fathers. You know, these aren't just people that pop up from nowhere. Something happened. Right, right. But when we look at them, we get scared. It's like, oh my God, it's one of them. It's like, no, it's one of us, only in a different form. Right. And so that's why I want to bring light to the homeless community so that we don't forget our brothers and sisters out there in the street. I mean, if you can dust me up and allow me to be doing what I'm doing, then why not dust somebody else up? And that's why I want to bring light to that.
Yeah, and I think it's amazing too, because like you said, a person who has been there has the power to help out another individual in that same scenario because you understand the experience, the pain that comes with it, not just the educational part of what maybe the homelessness, what it is. You've lived it, and you have a level of empathy and compassion that it's not even what you're saying, but it's how you say it and how you make those people feel that allows them to heal. Because I believe in order to heal, people need to feel safe. So I think like with your story of being homeless for, what was it, 23 years? 23 years is like you have 23 years of education in homelessness to be able to help out other people have what you've been given freely. And I think that's a beautiful thing, you know, right? Giving it back. Because I've learned if you don't give it, you lose it.
Right.
And so the next question too is it's in retrospect, what do you think was that kept you on the streets for so many years? Because that's 23 years. That's a long time. That's a long time. Like, what do you think it was that kept you out there for so long? Because I'm sure people maybe there's times you wanted to change. Maybe somebody offered you help. Like, I mean, I don't know exactly, but what do you think it was?
I think when I look back at it, initially it started, I was running. I was just running. I couldn't deal with what was going on at home. And I just start running. It reminds me of, what is that, Forrest Gump, when he just takes off running.
Oh, when the kids are chasing him?
Yeah.
And rocks and he starts running?
Right, and he ran through his whole movie.
Yeah.
And that was me. You know, I just ran and ran, and then I forgot what I was running from. But I knew running, so I continued to run. And that was my whole story out there. Except for physically running, I just anesthetized myself with drugs and, you know, inappropriate behavior and things like that. And once I got in that mode, I didn't know how to turn it off. I had moments of clarity when I go, you know what? I don't know exactly what's wrong, but I know something isn't right. And it's like, okay, well, what are you going to do about it? It's like, I don't know. And so that's what kept me out there, that whole I don't know. And even though people would come around periodically and say, well, don't you want to do something different? Well, yes. But what? You know? And so it took a while for somebody to actually pull me out of that environment, put me in a different environment, and allow me to have my adjustment pains before I can change the way I think. It's really interesting because they always say you can't think yourself into better living. You have to live your way into better thinking. Mm-hmm. And I believe that most behavioralists will tell you, you know, that if you're in an environment that's conducive to progress, you're going to progress. If you're in an environment that's conducive to negativity, you're going to become negative. And so I had to be removed from that in order to change my mind. And I had to practice for a long period of time on how to live life this way. And that's one thing when we're dealing with our homeless community. Don't feel disappointed because somebody's not changing instantly. Because it's not, we didn't become homeless instantly. You know, the same way somebody didn't become an addict instantly. You know, it took time. It takes time.
Yeah, and I think one thing you said too that I want to point out, you were saying, you know, you grew up in a very dysfunctional home, so that's why you ran. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a big thing to point out too. When we see a lot of people who are addicted or homeless or traumatized, it's like it always stems in the childhood. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, you start to hear that pattern of like you said, we didn't wake up one day and be, I want to be homeless. Right. I want to be a drug addict and alcoholic. It's like there's things that are happening, and the safe thing to do is becoming homeless sometimes. The safe thing to do is to be getting high and drinking. It's almost like a survival trait that worked for us in the beginning, but then it ends up hurting us. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a big thing to bring clarity to for people who are watching too when it comes to homelessness or addiction. Like, we didn't choose to be like this.
Right. And it's really fascinating because, again, there's a saying, if you hang out in a barbershop, you're going to get a haircut. If you hang out in a situation, you'll continue to behave in that situation. Do you think, act, and feel, and that becomes your new norm? And so when somebody says, well, then don't you want to change? It's like, no, what's wrong?
Yeah, this is what we're talking about. Like,
yeah, you know, I don't have a problem. I'm okay. You know, I haven't had a bath in a couple of days. You know, I don't have any money. I'm developing sores. I got diabetes. What's wrong? You know, that's real. It is real. You know, and it's fascinating how this occurs, and yet it's so simple to figure out. So simple.
Yeah, and I like that too, because you are who you surround yourself with. That's why I always tell people with negativity, it's like it doesn't matter how positive you are, how much education you have, how much money you make, how spiritual you are. If you hang around negativity too long, it's contagious. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like someone has the flu. You could be healthy, hang out with someone, you're like, damn, I got the flu. But I'm healthy. It's like, it's a virus. That's just how it works. Mm-hmm. So yeah, be very wise with who you surround yourself with if you want to change. And like you said, but then you also have to put in the action when you're in there. So I love that. The next thing is, how hard has it been for you to deal with your addiction? Because how many years sober do you have now?
23. Yeah, I was homeless 23 years. I've been sober 23 years. Isn't that cool?
So you broke even so far.
Exactly.
So now the next one's a big one for sure. Now you're going to be over 24 versus 23.
Right, exactly.
So for you, like, how is that? Because I know either people who don't really understand addiction, maybe they can educate them, and also too for people who are in recovery too, right? Because sometimes they can be, oh, he's 23 years, he must be living easy now. He has no problems.
Oh, I don't think so. But addiction is really fascinating because, I mean, we can get it down to a science and tell you, you know, where it's affected you, what neurotransmitters occur in your brain. You know, we can go with the whole, well, it's a spiritual malady. You need to find God to get. But when you look at addiction, or as far as what I see it as, it's more than just physically needing a drug or to drink. You know, there's the psychological part of addiction. There's the emotional part. You know, there's the whole sociology aspect of, you know, who do you hang out with? What environments do you? And then there's the spiritual. And so for me, dealing with addiction, it's a fivefold thing. Get in the way. If I don't ingest anything, okay, then I'm not going to get the effects of that anything. Now, mind you, I can confess I'm addicted to cookies.
Uh-oh, you hear that, guys? Yeah. Don't bring cookies around Anthony.
Yeah. I mean, at least don't bring one. Okay?
Because one's too much, and 1,000's never enough.
You must like cookies too.
Oh, I'm a chip guy.
Okay.
Hot Cheetos, don't bring them around me.
Exactly. But and so the physical part is easy because I just don't ingest anything that's gonna make create that whole toxic effect. Right. But the psychological part, it can be challenging at times because I can get in the habit of not being agreeable with people.
Ooh, not being agreeable? What do you mean?
Well, sometimes people say something and you just want to give them your opinion, but it's not healthy. And so when I look at it from that perspective, then sometimes I falter. Sometimes it's best to keep things in my head instead of letting it come out of my mouth. And so that I have to be careful of. Do I think about drinking and using? No, not even at all. I mean, there's alcohol everywhere. And there's drugs everywhere, to be honest with you. I just don't want it, And so the whole psychological craving and thinking, behavior, because you can be addicted to specific behaviors too. And so that takes some work. The emotional part, yeah, that gets me. Yeah, but I don't sit around and cry about it all. I mean, I have feelings. I have feelings.
Yeah, guys, he has feelings, guys. Okay, just in case you're wondering.
Right. A lot of people's like, dude, why you look so mean? It's like, I'm happy. And I'm like, seriously? It's like, this is the best you get, But and so the emotional thing is it's always you're always discovering new things. As with the new frame of mind, you see things new and you feel things different. And so dealing with that is really, really good. As far as the sociological aspects of it, it's my addictive behavior. I pay my bills. I discovered that, and it's really fascinating because some people get addicted to shortcuts. Like, nah, I'm not going to pay my bill. And it's like, yeah, I tried that experiment once. Yeah, I'm not going to pay my electric bill. They turned my lights off.
Well, so they do turn your lights out, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I paid my bill.
Okay, so I was getting an idea right now. I was like, wait, what happened?
No, they won't turn my lights off. This is not a joke. But in my spiritual, I mean, I am so connected with my higher power. It's like so awesome. Totally. Just even thinking about it, it's good.
And I can feel that when you say that.
Indescribably delicious.
Yeah. Indescribably delicious. I like that, like cookies, but better.
Way better. Cookies on steroids. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, because like one thing I've noticed with you too is you're so humble. And I'm pretty sure you weren't always humble, right? Because,
No, it took practice. It took practice. Yeah, but one of the things is that, because I'm not allowed to intentionally harm anybody, and I can't hate. And so what's my other alternatives? Be nice and loving. Yeah, and so love is an emotion. And so how do I do that? So I just treat people as I would want to be treated, and just go from there. And that works. Since I've been living this lifestyle, it's really fascinating because what you put out is what you receive. And so when I'm out putting out love, I, in a sense, establish another loving individual with me, and that creates a loving environment, which creates a loving city. And so just walk around in all the love, and it's really fascinating. I like that word, love. Love. Even though I don't know what it is, but love. Oh, Dr. Drew's a love doctor. I'm just but and it's cool because you get to laugh and all of that stuff when you're living in the moment, and that's another thing that's important. Live in the moment.
That is good. Yeah, living in the moment, laughing. You got to laugh.
Yeah.
I always think like for me, because a lot of my trauma and my addiction, stuff like that too. When I was sexually abused, molested, when I was abandoned, neglected, suicidal. There's beauty when you can give those things meaning through God, use it to help others, and then before you know, you're just laughing at the things that you do because of these things, right? And it's so healing, and I think people understand that when they've been through it, right? Because somebody could go, "How are you laughing at that?" But it's like we understand when we've been through it. It's like this is me accepting it and being free from it.
What's really fascinating is I've discovered all of that adversity we went through younger, okay, all prepared us for who we are today. And when I look at life as one big tapestry. On top of it, you have this beautiful picture. Everything looks perfect, but you flip it over and you have a bunch of strings and knots. And we don't realize when we're tying those strings and knots, going through adversities, we get a glimpse out of how beautiful things are.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's real. I mean, when I was the director of nursing at a psychiatric facility when COVID hit, and as with all facilities and in healthcare, COVID hit everybody equally. And I remember there was one, we had a client that her respiratory was crashing. I mean, she was running out of oxygen. And I ran in and I started working on her, and my assistant's like, you don't have a mask on, you don't have gloves on, you're not even gowned up. And I'm thinking about saving this lady's life. And then afterwards, I sat back and I thought about it. And I go, you know what? And I told my assistant, I injected drugs in my body. I ate out of trash cans. I mean, I have an immune system. You think COVID wants to deal with this?
COVID's like, oh, get away from Anthony.
On in there. And so things like that, seeing trauma, experiencing trauma makes me really empathetic. So I can't say that I'm fearless, but I don't have much fear about dealing with things. I accept life as it is. And what can I do to make it better?
That's beautiful. What I hear from that too is you found purpose to your pain, right? And like you said, it develops a level of empathy. And like you said, right, we all have fears, but when you kind of go through a lot of things in life and you overcome it, the fears, they're not that much. Right. They're like little day-to-day fears here and there, but like it's amazing what it does when you can go through those things, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, so when you're going through it, realize it's for a greater purpose. And the beauty of going through adversity is nothing lasts forever.
This too shall pass.
Yeah, and time is our gift, because it doesn't stay in one place. Time moves.
So for you, I know if you were to have like a piece of advice or a suggestion for somebody who's struggling with addiction, like what would you want to tell them?
I would tell them you're going to have moments of clarity in which you're going to not want to do it. Okay, that's going to happen. And when that moment happens, try to get used to surrounding yourself with other people who have been through it. When you're ready to stop, you're going to stop. The beauty of the human body is your body will make you stop, whether you want to or not. Sometimes it can be harsh. You can have a seizure. You can go into a coma. But your body is only going to take so much trauma. Now, the good news is if you want to stop, you can do it. It's not easy in the beginning because you're going to go through the physical withdrawals. You're going to be uncomfortable because that's your body's craving more of the drugs. But your body in itself is designed to heal itself. So you will get through it. Understand that it's going to be okay and it's worth it. It's worth it. So yeah, if you're struggling in addiction right now, consider it just a challenge and then step up to the plate and accept that challenge.
That's good. I like that. Yeah, I feel like that's going to help out a lot of people to hear that. You got me pumped on that right now. And then what about somebody who's struggling with homelessness? What kind of advice would you want to give them?
If you're out in the streets, okay, always remember that you're a person. Okay, and be careful what you tell yourself, because self-talk will convince you into all kinds of outrageous nonsense. You're an individual that's experiencing life, going through some difficulties. If you tell yourself, well, I'm a homeless person and this is all I'm going to get and I'm a piece of crap, you're just convincing yourself that that's who you are, and you're not. You're just an individual experiencing something in life that is going to pass eventually. And then go ahead and do your best. Know that it's not linear. It's up and down. Sometimes you'll have a really good day and sometimes you'll have a really crappy day. But it is doable, and there is help out there. There is help out there.
Yeah, that's so good. I love how you said that. You're a person. That right there is so powerful. And what you said too, right? Be careful how you talk to yourself, because it's so true, right? Your thoughts create your reality. Mm-hmm. And I think your belief system, your core beliefs are what control your thoughts. Your thoughts control your feelings control your actions. And so you should be very wise, because if you just change the way you view yourself, your life starts to change too. And it's pretty wild. You're like, wow, I didn't think this would actually work. So I think that's a really good nugget of wisdom.
Yeah, you know what makes me a good nurse?
What's that?
Because I am a good nurse.
Ooh,
Okay, that's reality. And when you feel that you are, you're going to practice that. You're going to reinforce it with education and experience. And the same thing applies to anything. When people say, "Well, I'm an addict or I'm a dope fiend," then guess what you're going to practice?
Being an addict and being a dope fiend.
Exactly. And so for us who are not in the midst of it, and we're dealing with people, be careful what we convince people that they are. You're an individual going through some difficult situations. And I love the fact that we're human beings because we're supposed to go through difficult situations. That's the only way we're going to learn.
That's how we grow.
Exactly.
People are like, I want this, and that. I'm like, it's going to come through some challenges, though.
Yeah.
So be aware. It's not that you're weak. It's not that life's against you. It's the things that you want in life. You need to go through this in order to build character and experience to sustain it. Because I think life doesn't want to give us something if we can't sustain it, right? It's like life's like, no, I got to get you ready so you can sustain this. I don't want you to lose it. And I love that you said how, because words are so powerful too, not only to ourselves, but to others, right? Like that one saying, right? Sticks and stones may break your bones, but words won't hurt you. I'm like, that's false. I'm like, no. Words will destroy you, and stuff like that. Like, do you feel like maybe you don't have it anymore, but maybe you do? Was there any words that were told to you when you're younger that you've seen actually still carry into your adult life, like a negative thing?
Not necessarily words, but actions. And I just discovered this recently because for a long time I would say I can't cook. Okay, I don't know how to cook. Okay, and so what does that get me? That gives me a bunch of fast food. Okay, great. Or it gives me a bunch of friends that I can say I don't know how to cook, and along with that statement comes the whole body language. A little sad, like, oh, I don't know how to cook. Come on. Yeah, throw me a biscuit, will ya? And so then I sit down, I go, where did that come from? And it wasn't because my mother can cook, my sisters can cook, everybody can cook but me. And I was trying to figure out, why can't I cook? And sometimes you have to do the hard work of introspection. Sometimes you have to sit down and go get in the Mr. Peabody Wayback Machine and go back to when you was 9 years old, because I had to. And I remember when my mom used to get drunk, she would have me cook her food, eggs. And when it wasn't right, she threw the plate at me. And that lasted, and it made me not want to cook. Wow. And I discovered that. I'm like, whoa, that's where that comes from. Okay, I had the barrier that I can't cook. And now I realize where that barrier comes from. Now, how do I break down that barrier? So I had to practice how to cook. And believe me, my first cooking thing, no. No. It was. I thought I'd take it easy. I got a crock pot, and I was making beans, which was great, but there was no seasoning. And so, some friends said, hey, why don't you put some garlic in it? I'm like, okay. And so I went and, I got YouTube on how to mash it. And, I'm like Chef Boyar Anthony and all of that stuff. And so I put the garlic in my beans. And like my whole house smelled like garlic. And I'm eating garlic soup. And I'm going around my friends like, dude, you smell like garlic. And I'm like, but you guys said put garlic in it. And they go, well, how much you put in? I said, I put that whole little ball of it in there. Yeah. And they're like, no. I'm like, what? And so I didn't know. Now I know the difference between a clove and a bulb. But I didn't know. Right. Okay. And so now I decided, okay, take it easy, because I threw the crock pot out, man. I'm like, I'm done with this cooking thing. Remember, life is ups and downs. It's not linear. But I discovered, here's a plug, HelloFresh. I discovered HelloFresh, and I love HelloFresh. And so now I'm back to Chef Boyar Anthony again. I love that. And that all came from me looking in my past and wondering. And so we get some sort of weird childhood messages that get suppressed. And if you're doing drugs, you kind of put a lid on that. And then you put emotions on top of that, and you get in fear every time you get near that closet. But you have to overcome those fears and go, where did that come from? And then you start looking at it. And then once you fix it, man, you're free.
It's true. And I can relate to that too, because like when I was 7 and I was sexually abused, and that happened to me when I was, a teenager. Before I did any introspect work, right before I looked in, I used to always, I wasn't aware that I needed, sex to feel loved. I was not aware of it. But it's because my childhood abuse actually to me was, oh, I feel accepted. I feel wanted. I feel validated, because my dad wasn't in my life. I kind of felt like alone. And so even the abuse was almost like, to me, it was like, oh, wow, I feel seen. And without me knowing it, I was connecting every relationship to that as it means love. And so when I didn't get it, I would get afraid. Oh, they're going to leave. They're going to leave. They're going to leave. Mm-hmm. And when they would leave, I would think, is it because I was sexually abused? And that haunted me for 25 years. But then once I did, when I looked within, I started to heal, I was able to identify that. Because for 25 years, I didn't know that it was just because of this. But then now, like you said, once I did it, now I'm free. It wasn't easy, right? I was still running away from places, like, and now it's like, cool, finally set free. So I love that you said that.
Yeah, here's a really weird thing about this whole love deal. Okay, now, well, I don't know if it's a drug. It could be some bunk, But what's fascinating is if your example of love and intimacy from childhood really was abuse, okay, but that's what you know. Right. Okay, but you run from that love and intimacy. Okay, what happens when you run into what real love and intimacy is, and you don't know what that is? You run away. Yeah. And so you're running from something that you don't like, looking for something that you don't know. Mm-hmm. So how do you find it?
Yeah, that's heavy. It's like it's almost like something that's good for us feels not good for us. Something that's not good feels good for us.
Right. And so we push people away and we wonder why we're alone.
Mm-hmm. I remember there's this one thing I was talking to my therapist, and he's like, why do you keep on getting into relationships saying that you're bored? Is it that they're boring, or is it that it's healthy? Mm-hmm. And it made me really think. I was like, oh my gosh, I pushed a lot of people away then in my life because I was bored, not understanding that it was probably healthy because, I like the chaos.
Right. The chaos that you don't like.
Yeah. The chaos that I don't like, I like.
Right. And then you get frustrated because you can't find what you're looking for. Mm-hmm. People always want to love us, and it's like, okay. But then it's like, I don't want that. But I want to be loved. It's a quandary.
It's so crazy. It's a paradox, just back and forth. That's why I always tell people that I work with, I'm like, write out your ideal partner. And then, they're all the guys are stoked, right? Yeah, I want someone respectful, ambitious, all these things, right? And I'm like, cool. Now, are you that with integrity? No. Then you won't find someone like that. You got to become that in order to attract that, because you don't get what you want in life. You get what you are, And I think that's such a powerful thing we're talking about, right? Because inside we're still broken.
Right. And then what is a relationship? I mean, it takes two.
Yeah. These are all difficult questions right now, Anthony. I'm like, I don't know.
We're gonna have some therapy right now. No, but it's really fascinating that a lot of times people think it's two halves that make a whole. That's not true. No, it's two wholes that have each other. And I was reading that there's three types of relationships. There's like the H relationship, like the letter H, where two people hang on to each other, and one leaves, the other one falls over. And then there's like the A relationship, where you lean into each other and one moves and you fall over. Then there's the M relationship, where if one leaves, you still stand.
Oh, I like that.
And so when you find someone that's compatible, understand that everybody has flaws, and that's okay. But can you survive without them? Can they survive without you? And if that's the case, then you probably have something going on for yourself.
No, I love that, the three letters, because it's true, right? Because I think society or movies or whatever, a lot of things that we follow are based on someone said something and it spreads around, right? So yeah, the whole, I found my other half. It's called codependency. Yeah. And when you're whole, it allows you, I feel like when two whole people come together, it's like, well, for one, they know who they are, they have a purpose in life, and they come together to just share in it. Mm-hmm. I don't need you, I want you. And that allows you to have boundaries, healthy boundaries. It allows you to hang out with friends, do your own thing, come together, and not worry about, you need to love me. You need to make me happy. It should be, I'm happy and I want to share it with you. Exactly. Because that's healthy. Because if not, codependency is real. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it pushes people away.
Right. Yes, it's not like you want somebody to love you, but you love yourself so much that it attracts people to you.
I love that. The next topic too I want to talk about is, because how much schooling did you do? Like, were you smart in elementary school? Were you smart in middle school? Sorry putting you on the spot, Anthony.
Well, let me tell you, I had the privilege of knowing, 3 tours in the 7th grade, and we had 2 tours in the 8th grade, and 1 day in 9th.
So you were so smart that you had to go to, you had to pick, you had a choice of 3 different schools to go to, and then 2 schools, and then you graduated 9th grade after 1 day.
No, actually, I stayed in 1 school. They just kept repeating me. Okay, over and over and over again. I mean, I stayed at Grand Junior High for so long. I was an adult walking through the hallways of junior high. But no, I left home at 14, and so they just kept repeating me until it's like, okay, well then obviously this ain't gonna happen, so we'll just move you forward. And that happened until the 9th grade. Back then, I thought the only knowledge I needed was to know that 28 grams made an ounce. And so that's what I utilized. I drank. I was heavily addicted by 14. And so school got in the way. And plus my mom did this really crazy shame thing. Like, she beat me in school, and being a teenager in school and having all your friends hear you yell down the hallway after you're getting beat, that kind of... Yeah, and so I really got turned off from school. And so I didn't go back until, I was 38 years old.
So 38. So up to 9th, you went up to 9th grade. You weren't a straight A student, obviously a lot of tours. You get into drugs early, so you're not going to school because drugs gets in the way. And now, from what I do know, you have more letters after your name than your name put together. So what I want to know, because I think a lot of people that have no education, maybe they weren't smart in school and they're thinking about going to college, but there could be a lot of fears, right? Well, if I wasn't smart in the past, what's going to be any different this time? Which could keep people from going to college, right? Because again, the fear of failure, rejection, embarrassment. For you, like, how did you find the motivation to just know that your background in school wasn't the best, and now you have, I don't even know how many degrees or certifications or whatever you have. You have so much. Like, how did you find motivation to go through with that?
I am, well, like I said, I had my spiritual awakening. Okay, and one of the things was always finish what you start. So that puts me in a quagmire. if I go down there and go, okay, I like this class, I got to finish it. I don't have a choice. Well, I do have a choice, but I choose not to exercise quitting. And so I got my GED in jail, first of all. And then I went down to a community college, and I said, okay, well, let me learn something. So I started taking one class, like, okay, I like that. Let me learn something else. And then once I start getting this added information, and it's really funny because, again, once you surround yourself in that environment, you become that environment. Suddenly I realized that, hey, I'm a student. Okay, I'm not just a student. I'm a student at a college. That's right. And then I tell my friends, I'm going to college. I'm like, dude, you go to college? And so they reinforce, like, yeah, I go to college.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I continued. Then once I got done with that one class, I just took the next and the next and the next. And next thing you know, I go, okay, well, this bundle of classes, you can get an associate's degree. It's like, okay. And then this bundle of classes, you can get an associate's degree in psychiatric technology. It's like, well, with that, you can get a license as a psych tech. It's like, okay. And so I did that. Next thing you know, I have like 3 degrees. And it's like, okay, I'm still going to school, and I started going to school to become a registered nurse. I got that accomplished. And then after that, I was like, well, I'm on a roll. And so I started going to a university. Next thing you know, I've got a Bachelor of Science degree in nursing. Then I got a public health nurse, And in the middle, I get bored. So I went to school, and I became a certified addiction treatment counselor. I became a certified anger management facilitator, domestic violence facilitator. And I just kept going. CPR certified instructor, management and assault behavior instructor. It's like, okay, and so I just kept going. And I took a break. I went to school from 2001 to 2015.
14 years straight?
14 years
Dang!
Yeah.
You basically went from kindergarten to 12th grade again.
Yeah, huh? I didn't think about that. Yeah. Yeah. And it was cool because the stuff I was learning I could use. And I started, exercising that knowledge, and I became employable. And then my education got me better jobs. So I was getting reinforced for the education. I was starting to get paid for my brain, and people would come and ask me questions that made me feel like I'm wanted.
Right, that there's value.
Exactly. And so I continued to do that. And then on my break in 2015, I said, I'm just going to stop going to school and start using this education to make some money. And so I started developing businesses, and next thing you know, Care got created and all of that stuff. And then I got bored. And so I wrote a book.
You get bored and then you write a book.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And then now I'm back in school to be a nurse practitioner.
Do you feel like a big thing when it comes to doing something in school, like to really find something that you love?
Yes, definitely. Find something you have a passion for, because that's what keeps you motivated. And what happens in school is if you start taking, like I started out becoming a psych tech, and I thought, okay, I want to learn everything there is about psych, abnormal psych, behavioral psych, all of that stuff. And it's like, oh, well, what about nursing? How about the disease process? How does that work? How about medication? Okay, well, let me try that. And now it's like, okay, I want to know how systems work. I want to know how medications work on systems. I want to be out there and be able to prescribe medications to help people. My big dream in the end, I want to be known as the ghetto doctor.
The ghetto doctor.
Yeah, the ghetto practitioner. That's who I'm.
Ghetto practitioner.
Yeah, and that's who I am. I want to go out there in the streets where nobody has any help and bring treatment to them. Because if I can, the human body will heal itself if given the right environment. And if I can help create that environment, then we can probably help put a little curb in that homeless stuff.
Yeah, and I definitely feel like you are going to make that change for sure. You are going to be the ghetto practitioner. I can already see it. I already see it happening. Today, guys, we have the ghetto practitioner as our keynote speaker. I already see it happening.
Hey, you know what? You would be amazed. I mean, look at my life now. 23 years ago, I was eating cheeseburgers out of a dumpster. I mean, seriously. I mean, my best thinking was I wanted to save up enough money to buy a crack rock the size of a melon and smoke it out of a tuba.
Oh, man. I'm listening to that right now. I'm like, that actually sounds like a great idea. I'm like, a tuba, really?
Yeah. But and now I just want to, get out and save some lives and make an investment in life, because I come to realize that life is time is a precious commodity. We only get so much of it. Okay, and while we have it, we realize what we have. Why not utilize that to its most maximum capacity? Everybody has an expiration date. Everybody. And what are you gonna do once that's done? There's nothing you can do.
That's why I always believe. I believe everybody has a higher purpose in life. It's just not everyone's willing to listen. Because if you can take a step back and really listen, you can see what you're capable of doing. And I think someone like you and myself, we're people who listen, and the results speak for themselves. And so I just hope people can understand that, like, anything is possible.
Well, they will. That's like I say, everybody gets a moment in clarity. You can just be sitting back and all of a sudden one word. That's all it takes is one word and go, huh? Yeah. And then that one word will turn into a sentence, and that sentence will turn into a paragraph, and that paragraph will turn into a page.
And that page turns into a book.
Exactly.
Turns into your life.
Yeah, a library.
Yeah, a life berry.
Hey, we're on one now, folks.
My next question too is what is your view on how society views homelessness?
Society, God bless society. I mean, I think we view it in a lens in which we want to do something, but we want everything done yesterday. And fixing the homeless problem isn't going to happen yesterday. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen in a week. And some people find it frustrating, and they give up because the frustration within themselves is unbearable. So they just let it go and do something that they're comfortable with. Dealing with the homeless, I mean, we have all kinds of entities. We have Housing First. We have these different programs. We have all of that stuff. But we have to be careful because people come equipped with greed, And instead of saying, okay, I'm going to get $1 million for the homeless people, I'm going to keep $750,000 and give $250,000 to the homeless people. That's backwards. Keep $10,000 and give the other $990,000. If you thought of it that way, we could have a solution. If we can fly a drone on Mars, okay, we can fertilize an egg in a petri dish and create a life, we can resolve this homeless thing. We can. It takes the same amount of time as it takes to figure out how to fly a drone on Mars, or how to figure out science behind, mixing chromosomes. That didn't happen overnight. And so why don't we put all that energy towards fixing this problem? It's just we get tired and we want instant gratification. And so when I look at society and I see that, and God bless, I mean, I'm a human being, I'm a member of society, I understand, okay? But my thing is, let's stop putting up barriers of what we cannot do and welcome the things that we can. It's not a one size fit all. I don't have all the solutions. You don't have all the solutions, but together we have more solutions. So let me take your two, get my two, and get two from everybody else, and combine that, and see, instead of going, no, my entire 10 is the only way. It's like, no. And so when I look at how society views homelessness, I look at how we're approaching it. I mean, I've been out there going, hey, I know how to deal with this. Scientifically, I have the credentials. I have the experience. And they're like, well, who are you? It's like, okay. And so what I do is I live by example. The money isn't mine. This is God's money. I've never seen a U-Haul connected to a Hertz, ever. And so all of this stuff, I'm doing my part. I have enough for me. So now let me give it to our brothers and sisters. Let me be an example, and maybe somebody will say, you know what, I like that example. Yeah, let me be like Mike. Let me do some of that stuff. How do I feel good about doing something for my brothers and sisters? And this is how you do it, and understand when you reach your limitations, it's okay to tap out. I can get tired and go, hey, Fausto, check this out, man. Can you assist? Then when you get tired, you can have the next person. We need to work as a team. Society kind of lost that a little bit.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you too. It's like I think it's going to take specific people with that understanding, right? Like you said, where the money comes in and this is for me, this little bit, and the rest is for this, to make change, and having a group of people who also think the same way. Because I think a lot of times what I see a lot happen is people create things where it could be out of greed, or they create things because they think it's going to work, but it's like you see it's this is not working. It's actually causing more problems. There has to be another way, but it takes a specific type of person, I think, kind of like Chief, right? A person who opens up his house 24/7, has 400 people living with him for free. Mm-hmm. It takes a specific individual to do that, but it's like we can do that, and it can make change. Mm-hmm. And I think that's beautiful that's what you want to do. I just had a vision as you're saying that too. I'm thinking like, you're going to be that guy that's going to make this difference. You're going to be that example, and people are going to start following, and you're going to create this ripple effect that's going to start spreading around. I truly believe that.
I'm just an individual vessel.
And God's using you right now. You know what I mean? Because you get it, and I love that. The next question I have for you too is, do you think homelessness is a choice?
When I think about, because I've been asked that question before, do I think homelessness is a choice? If you had two choices, choice A and choice B, you'd choose one of those. Okay. If you had 5 choices, you'd have more of a choice, wouldn't you? And the same thing with the homeless people. They only get a couple of choices. Let's give them more choices and see what they select. I think people would pick the best out of whatever they're presented with. So as far as homelessness being a choice, I think the human body wants to live. It does. It's designed to do that. And so we want to live. It's just, how do we live? What do we consider comfort? If I had a choice, okay, well, I can either sleep on the streets and not take a shower and nobody's bothering me, or you make me take a shower every day and you're bothering me. What's my choices? We all want to be autonomous. We all want to be individuals. We all want to have freedom of choice. And yet, what I choose to do, people don't like. That's what I like about Brown Manor. It's like, we'll put you in an environment when you're ready to change, make the change, even if it's gradually and incrementally. If you choose to sleep on the floor in Brown Manor, then sleep on the floor. Okay, but you still have a room. And while you're on the floor, I'm going to come sit beside you on the floor and go, hey, what do you think about that room? And we're going to discuss why you don't want to make that choice. You know, a lot of times if we understand the choices we make, then maybe we can make a different choice. You know, me eating out of a dumpster 23 years ago, what's wrong with that? I'm hungry. Okay, how about if I give you something to eat? Okay, fine. But what about tomorrow? I'm going to eat out of the dumpster. You know, so what choices do I have? Same when it comes to drugs. That's a whole different mechanism on your brain. You really once you adjust that first one, you really don't have a choice because it kicks off physiologically the cravings. But the drugs don't last forever. Then what's my choice afterwards? You know, I see people go through treatment and it's all great. It's fine and dandy. I love this new life. I did 30 days, no drugs. I'm in an environment that's conducive to that. But what happens when you send me back home? You know, what are my choices? You know, same thing with people being in jail, you know. And so I think as far as homelessness being a choice, I would say if I'm going to give it a percentage, I'd say it's about 40%, 40% choice and 60% non-opportunity.
I like that. And I can see where you're coming from with that too. Like I'm trying to connect it to like addiction, right? Like both the same thing, right? 30 days in treatment, happy, they're motivated. I mean, they really want to do better. You see it, right? You see the change. All right, time to go home. Now what? 30 days is nothing.
Right.
You threw them out there. They don't even know how to live life. They don't even know what's possible. They don't even know how to cope with these things. And you put them back in an environment that maybe they ran away from and why they're like this. So I love that you said that, right? 40% of choice and 60% the lack of opportunity, especially when people could put a stigma on addiction or homelessness, right? Oh, you're homeless. Oh, you're an addict. People look at TV shows or movies and it's all for entertainment purposes. Of course, they're going to make it look more than what it is. And then people judge us on that. So they're like, they don't give us opportunities. That's why I think it's important. Like if you're right, creating more opportunity for them.
Exactly.
And then that's love right there.
Right. And I put myself out there in public, okay? And I've already dealt with almost anything that can happen, believe me. You know, who's going to say, okay, I know you can stop my heart attack, okay, but I know you were homeless. I'm not going to die. I'm not going to let you let me die. You know, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to save you anyway, you know. And you would be amazed because, again, this is an individual. This is a human being. This is a person that's capable of doing a lot of different things if they had the opportunity to be trained to do a lot of different things. You know, we're living proof, man.
Yeah.
We're living proof. Statistically speaking, I'm not supposed to be who I am if we go by statistics. But I found a higher power that knows quantum physics. Okay. Yeah, you know, and I love the fact that I'm so comfortable enough to say, you know what, you can do whatever you want. You have to deal with that individual. You know, in the meantime, if you have breathing difficulties, I'm going to help you. If you have stress and frustration, I'm going to help you. If you have an addiction problem, I'm going to help you. You know, if your heart stops, I'm going to help you.
That's so cool. I love that you said that, right? God is the quantum physics that breaks physics. Because it's true. And it's like, that's why we tell people, like, whatever God is to you, if you can find out what that is, it breaks logical thinking. And it's amazing because people may argue that, but when people hang around people that use God and they go, this doesn't make sense. How did this happen? Like, God. Yeah. And it's like, and it's beautiful because that right there is, I find, like I said, my life has been the key to everything I've done. It's like, I don't know. It's God. I shouldn't, like you said, I shouldn't be here. Logically, this doesn't make sense, but it happened.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, here I am. I have multiple felonies, but I'm licensed as a nurse.
Right. Yeah. That's most people would probably think if they have felonies, I can't even do that. I'm not even going to try.
Right. You know, they say I burn out brain cells, but yet I can tell you how a cell works. You know what I mean? But because our body heals itself. You know, the human body is the perfect little machine, you know. And the whole thing is, it's important that we believe in something. And we've always believed in something. You know, we believe that tying up our shoestrings prevents us from falling. Yeah. And we tie them up.
Mm-hmm. I believe if I eat food, I won't be hungry.
Exactly. You know, so why not have that same questionable belief? Because I'm a firm believer. And you know what? You can try this experiment if you want. Ask God. Just asking in any way that you could think of. Go, you know what? Prove to me. and then believe what your five senses pick up. Because you can't lie to your own eyes. You can be in denial, okay? But believe me, God has such a loud knock, your door will open. It's true.
Oh, I hope people try it out.
Go for it. Find out.
That's right. God is so good. So what is God to you?
God is, again, God is indescribably delicious. God comes in many shapes, sizes, and forms. God could be everything all at once. It's sort of like walking through air and feeling the air against you, knowing that you're part of the air. That's how intense God is. God, God is energy. It can be a subtle vibration, like your phone going off in your pocket, or it could be an intense one, like you got hit by a bolt of lightning. Either way, it's always, or he's always there. I say he because it's easy for me to identify. And I communicate. I chit chat with God all the time. And I had somebody once ask me, it's like, okay, well, if you talk to God all the time, it's like, what does he sound like? And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And so I want to go, God, check this out. You heard. It's like, what do you want me to tell him? And then it hit me, and I went back. I go, God, okay, I have an answer from God from you. Like, what? I go, God told me to tell you he communicates through sign language. Now watch what he does with me. That was it, man. That was it. And that person went, oh. That's how that works.
That's so cool.
Ask, you will get the answers. Sometimes you don't like it.
But it's the way you need it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And we realize it after we trust it, and then you look back like, oh, okay, God, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I long time ago, man, I used to always say, okay, God, allow me to do this, or let me do this if it's your will. Then it went to, okay, God, what next? And then it went to, God, I'm tired. And then God's like, but I'm not. And I'm like, okay, because I only have to do this for a lifetime. That's it. I have an expiration date, dude, so I don't have to deal with this forever in this form. So I get to enjoy it. Enjoy the ride.
So we got about 2 more questions.
Okay.
So you ready? So one of them is, why do you think people have a hard time with the God concept? And from your experience?
I think people have a hard time with the God concept because we're so used to depending on our immediate sensory. If I can hear, taste, touch, feel, then it's real. Believing and following and supporting something that's not concrete can sometimes be complicated because we like to have that. We like to have reinforcement all the time for validation. And sometimes when you just put faith in something and know that it's happening, and when you experience and know that that faith has been answered, then that helps out a lot. Sometimes our flashlight isn't focused on the right thing. A lot of times it's really fascinating. When a lot of times people, when they get into really intense, frightening situations, all of a sudden it's like, hey, help me, God. Why then and not every day? When you have something super cool like a baby being delivered, you're like, oh my God. It's like, what did you say?
Right.
And so we have some sort of concept. A lot of times we're embarrassed. A lot of times we get stuck with, how do I explain what I believe? Because a lot of times people will say, well, then what you're saying isn't true. And we live in a society or a time in which people believe something only if the majority of people believe it, right, to reinforce it. And if that's the case, then how many religious people are out there in this world? The individual belief for me is what is the bomb. It's the bomb, man. I mean, if I wake up in the morning, I hit my knees before I hit my feet, and we chit chat, and I go throughout my day, and I pretty much know what my day is going to be like. It's going to be okay. Good, bad, or indifferent. I'm a human being. I'm supposed to have ups and downs. I'm supposed to have, trials and tribulations.
They say it's like a lifeline, right? When you're alive, it's what? Beep, up, down, up, down.
Exactly.
It's when you're dead, it's flat.
Right. Right. It's funny. It's actually it's a P wave in the QRS interval. With inverted T. That's hard to say. Oh, that's okay. That's too much education, man. You have to forgive me. But yeah, and that's the way it is, and it's really cool because a lot of times, think of it this way: when we go to work, okay, do we know we're going to get paid after a couple of weeks? Yeah, yeah. That's why we go to work. Right. Okay, so why not think of God that way? Why don't you just put the work in, knowing you're going to get paid?
God, I want a bi-weekly. No, I don't want bi-weekly. I want every week. I want every week check, God.
He's giving you an everyday check. You're alive, man. Okay, look, a check and a bonus. You can breathe, you can see, you can smile. I mean, you got a car, you got gas in it. I mean, what else do you want, man? Okay, let him take it away and see what happens.
Love that. And then for my final question, how do you forgive someone? I know you probably have many things that you couldn't forgive, whether it's yourself or things that have happened. And I think forgiveness can be hard for people because people think, I will never forgive for what they've done. And I get it. Some stuff is very traumatic and maybe you didn't have a part, like for me, when I was sexually abused, I had no part. I wanted to kill the person, but I learned forgiveness isn't for them, it's for me. And that allowed me to forgive and move on. So I want to kind of know, how do you forgive someone?
Well, it depends on your infraction that dictates the amount of time. But I really don't have time to hang on to anything negative. I believe in the law of substitution. The only way I can get anything new in is if I let go of something old. I'm trying to learn advanced physiology. I don't have time to hold a grudge. I really don't. And so what I have learned to do is, even if I have to when nobody's around, I can just cuss and yell and scream at that person, but get it out of my system. Once it's out of my system, then you fall back into the general realm of being a human. You're prone to make mistakes. That's okay. You made one. Nobody's perfect. I forgive you, and keep on going. Usually when somebody does something that hurts me, they're just being them. I'm the one that's allowing myself to be hurt. And as long as I got control over how I think, feel, and act, then that makes a big difference. And so forgiving people is really easy. It is, The problem that people have sometimes is they'll constantly rehearse whatever that infraction was inside their head, and that makes them not want to forgive somebody. But that's them choosing not to let it go. So once you've done, okay, well, the point of impact caught me off surprise. Ooh, that hurts. Okay? And then I try not to perseverate on it, because I've discovered, again, time is a precious commodity. What am I investing my time in? Over what you did or what I need to do. People ask me what's the secret to my success as far as going to school and stuff. I let things go because I got room for something new. And it's worth that investment. It's time.
That's good. No, I love that. Yeah, I think forgiveness is such an important thing. I always say, in order to live, you need to forgive, right? And it's life-changing. So where can people find you?
You need to go to my website, www.anthonyhowardbrown.com, or all my social medias, Brown Manners, all over the place. Or you can look at my company website, Care, Coordinating, Assisting Recovery Environments. Or you can go to Amazon and get the book, From Park Bench to Park Avenue. Oh. Let me say that again, From Park Bench to Park Avenue. Yeah, Amazon. Because all the proceeds go to Brown Manor. But if you look at the website, then you'll see everything we're doing. I'm all over the place. I try to stay as close I can to Fausto. Okay, that's really important because you radiate a sort of energy that's really healthy, and sometimes I can't find quite the right adjective to put it in for what an individual, because it happens on a spiritual level. And sometimes these things are really hard to describe. But hanging out with individuals like you helps solidify who I am, And so you know how to get a hold of me. I think if you can get a hold of Fausto, then you're going to get all of this ooh wee and a little bit more. That's what we should do. If we can package this up into some sort of like aerosol, we'd call it ooh wee.
Ooh wee, guys. Ooh wee. Spicy and sweet.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. Well, I just want to say thank you so much too for being on here, and I appreciate your time and your energy and your wisdom, and I'm just super grateful to call you my friend because you add so much value to my life too, man. You do. You don't understand. Like, you really, really do. Just the thought of knowing that I know you, that goes through my mind throughout the day. It's like, it's really cool because it helps me believe in God more, because God says, I'm like, all right, God, you do love me. You do care. You keep on putting people into my life. And it's like, it's a beautiful thing to have hope.
That's how I feel. I'm like an appliance in your wall socket. Appliance in your wall socket. Yeah, because that's where all the juice is.
Juicy. Ooh, we. All right, and we're done.